Calling the Joint Committee on Human Services and Government Operations 3 p.m. calendar. Present for the Committee on Human Services are myself, Senator Ocasio on Zoom, and Senator Misalucha right here in the conference with me. And for Senator Moriwaki, Chair, are you the sole member for GVO?
Yeah, GVO still the sole member here, but we will hopefully get more members coming soon.
Yes, so there will be more members hopefully that will come in soon. So first, this meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 3:50 p.m. February 10th, 2022, conference room 225 and via video conference, and a public notice will be posted on the legislator's website. Testifiers, your audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. Each testifier will have 2 minutes. If there is a technical glitch during your time to testify, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and we remind you that the committee has your written testimony. Okay, so if you are able to rest on your written testimony, please do so. And just emphasize what is important. And I will be reading a list of individuals who submit written testimony for each measure. We apologize if the closed captioning does not accurately transcribe the names. If you're interested in reviewing the written testimony, please go to the legislator's website. You'll find a link on the status page for the measure. Okay, so first up, SB 2381, relating to technology access for individuals with disabilities, declares the policy of the state that electronic information technology developed, purchased, or provided by the state shall be accessible to and usable by individuals with disabilities, equivalent to access and use by individuals without disabilities, requires a Disability and Communication Access Board to develop, review, and revise electronic information technology disability access standards, requires all state entities to incorporate the disability access standards into their development and procurement policies and processes within a specified time frame. And we're going to be hearing 2 bills combined because they're very similar and the witnesses refer to each other. So the next one we're also going to be hearing in tandem will be SB 2459 relating to language access. It requires the executive director of the Office of Language Access to submit an annual report to the governor and legislature on compliance, complaints, resolution of complaints, and recommendations to enhance and promote language. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me, and 2144. Apparently, not that one. And SB 2144 relating to electronic information technology accessibility for persons with disabilities that requires that all electronic information technology developed, purchased, used, or provided by state entity be made accessible to persons with disabilities. Requires the Office of Enterprise Technology Services in consultation with DCAB and a working group comprising stakeholders to develop and publish electronic information technology accessibility standards to be implemented by all state entities. Requires review and amendment of the standards every 3 years after the date of publication or as needed to reflect advances or changes in information technology. And I want the witnesses to these measures, which appear to be the same witnesses for both of them, to tell me which of these 2 bills they prefer. And I believe the written testimony has already stated that. But that is what we're looking at by both chairs. Okay, so first up, on SB 2381 is James Gashel, National Federation of the Blind of Hawai'i. And I appreciate the fact that your written testimony referred to both of these measures. So in support, James Gashel, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. It's James Gashel testifying on behalf of the National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii on both of these bills. At the end of our written testimony, there is a comparison and recommendation section, which I would call your attention to. You know, it's not necessarily just a question of adopt SB 2381 and forget about S2144 or the other way around. It's more a melding of the two. They're virtually identical. The biggest thing right there would be whether DCAB or Office of Technology Enterprises and Services is chosen to administer the program. You know, that's the legislature's kuleana, I think, more than ours, but I just say that we see Office of Technology Enterprises and Services as having greater technology chops. It's not to say anything negative about DCAB, but I think that the state's technology is more managed by OATS than DCAB, of course. And I think probably on balance, they would be the better agency to do this. Beyond that, I just want to say, you know, for blind people, this is really a civil rights bill. When the technology doesn't work right for us, there are lots of things we can't do. My best example of, or worst example of that would be the Safe Travels program. Thank God for my wife who can sign the screen. I can't. And she can see and sign the screen. And so when I travel, I can come back into the state without having to quarantine for 14 days. But it's more than that. There are lots of examples that this bill will resolve by setting standards for accessibility. Those standards are federal, but they don't directly apply to the state. This will change that. And we just say mahalo for your consideration of these bills. And great shout out to the senators, Moriwaki and Dela Cruz and the others who have sponsored this bill, 15 in all.
Thank you so much,
bills.
Mr. Gashel. Your 2 minutes are up for now.
Thank you.
And thank you again for your very comprehensive written testimony. Okay, so next up, we have DCAB, Christine Pagano. They want Office of Technology to do it. Is DCAB present? Okay, seeing none. Office of Enterprise.
Yes.
Oh, there she is. Christine Pagano, please proceed.
Good afternoon. Chair San Buenaventura Moriwaki, Vice Chair Ihara, Dela Cruz, and members of the Human Services and Government Operations. Recent testimony, the National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii, and we agree that this bill is imperative. We should have Hawaii electronic systems take care of this. And we agree that they are the appropriate agency to take over the lead. And DCAB would love to partner with ETS. The second thing I'd like to say is the deadline is December 31st of this year for SB 2381 and SB 2144. The deadline for that bill, that's less than 6 months. That is not enough time because there are so many folks with diverse disabilities, and they need various ways to be able to access the technology, and it's not a one size fits all. And please recognize that DCAB does not have a communication specialist, access specialist position. Right now, there is no funding available. And we are trying to restore that position and the funding as well. This is a very important bill. Both of them are, and we support them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have Office of Enterprise Technology Services and Support.
Aloha, this is Doug Murdoch, State CIO. We testified in support of the bill. From our perspective, there are two sides to this. One is to decide which technologies should be used and whether they meet the requirements. But the most important one is to decide which requirements we're going to meet. So there are various standards for access, and really it needs to be DCAB that's making those decisions and deciding whether or not the departments are aligning with the capabilities that people need to have who have disabilities. What is the level of accessibility we're going to grant or provide, and then we can help advise them on what technologies need to be used. But I think it is more a policy decision than a top technology decision. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have Brandon Young in support. Katie Kime in support. Virgil Stinnett in support. Peter Fritz in support for SB 2144.
I'm here, Chair.
Okay, so Mr. Fritz, please proceed.
Thank you. Since I start my video. Okay. What I said in my testimony is I support the intent, but as DCAB goes and reviews certain accessibility requirements for buildings, they're using the Access Board guidelines for design. The Access Board has, as it's been cited in my testimony, come up with Section 508 standards and Section 255 standards. And these are the standards that anybody would use to judge whether or not technology is accessible. They provide guidelines for it. The adoption can be done by statute. It can be done in rules by SPO, so that SPO can include all this information in there. I just don't understand exactly why we're starting from ground zero when there are existing standards already, and those standards set the minimum amount, minimum floor on the type of standards that would be appropriate to provide. I did make a comment about amending Section 2743, which relates to ETS. I had a situation where I'm hard of hearing and I use captioning. The problem is that Teams can't provide captioning outside of the Microsoft network. And in order for me to receive captioning, I have to use Zoom. Not everybody is willing to switch to Zoom, but ETS doesn't have the authority to standardize on certain types of software. In addition, for those people that have visual problems, visual disabilities, when you display a document on Teams or on Zoom and you share your computer, it's not accessible to somebody that uses a screen reader. One complaint that I've heard from a number of people in the agencies is the fact that they'd like to get more support from ETS. So I'd really like to see this bill bring forward some more power and authority to ETS in order to standardize, as they did with Adobe with their electronic signing and on Microsoft 365, and as well as to get additional funding to provide support services to the executive branch, because many people are seeking to do that. In terms of the type of clause, you can put a clause in all sorts of RFPs. Hawaii requires that all information technology must be compliant with Section 504 and Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act as amended, the Americans Disability Act of 1990 as amended. and then say, can you provide either a statement or an accessibility or a voluntary product accessibility template, which was developed by the GSA to ensure that what they purchase is accessible.
Okay, so you need to wrap up, Mr. Fritz.
That's fine.
We have your written testimony.
And so I would prefer 2381 over 2144, simply because I'd like to see things move faster. And there's a framework to let it happen. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up in 2140, okay, so for 2381, we have written testimony from State Council on Developmental Disabilities providing comments. In support, we have Kimiona Kane, Alan Hedgen, Deb Raymond, Donaldo Sakamoto, and Hoku Boros, all in support. For 2144, we have Hawaii Civil Rights Commission in support. Department of Health, Executive Office of Aging in support. Also Daintree Bartolodis, Council on Developmental Disabilities, this time in support and not comments. Office of Enterprise Technologies has already testified and providing comments. James Gashel, National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii in support, who has also testified. Stan Young, Hawaii State Committee of Blind Vendors in support. Christine Pagano of DCAB in support, who has already testified. Brandon Young, also in support. Is Brandon Young present? No? Yes. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Please testify on either 2144 or 2381, and which one do you prefer?
Okay, Chair, thank you so much for our testimony. I think there'd probably be some more 2381, but I would ask that you review the testimony submitted on by Mr. Gashel, James Gashel, and putting the two bills and combining them into one.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So the written testimony of, okay, the big difference between both of them, by the way, and it's one of the things that both Senator Moriarty, Chair Moriarty, and I are in disagreement with, is who is going to be in charge of the working group. On SB 2381, it's DCAB, and DCAB has testified it doesn't have the ability to do the working group. And in 2144, it is the Office of Enterprise Technology Services, who admits to being able to do it, but prefers not to. So that's the big difference between both of them, by the way. So if you have no preference as to who is in charge of the working group, so long as they work together, we can move on.
Yes, I would hope that they'd be able to work together. I just would say that I guess the OETS has the backing of the state government and could promulgate rules and regulations, correct?
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you so much.
Chair, I have a question.
Okay, wait a second. We still haven't listed all the witnesses, and then you can,
Okay, sorry. Okay,
okay, and then my members get to ask first before you do.
Okay.
Sorry.
all right.
Okay, next one, it's Ann Lemke. In support, is Ann Lemke present? Katie Kime in support. Virgil Stennett, National Federation of the Blind in support. And Peter Fritz already provided comments also. All in support for 2144 are Kimiona Kane, Deb Raymond, Donaldo Sakamoto, Hoku Boros, Jacqueline Borsa. Okay, members of okay, anybody on Zoom who wishes to testify on either 2381 or 2144? Okay, seeing none. Okay, members, any questions from Human Services? Okay, your turn now, Chair of GVO.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I have a question for, I guess, Mr. Fritz. You mentioned, is he back on?
Mr. Fritz.
I'm here.
So you mentioned that there already are rules regarding what communication and access would mean. And is that being implemented by other states, or is that just the Federal Rehab Act that you're referring to?
The standards apply to the federal government, but as you look through RFPs from other states, such as California, which I did before I wrote my testimony, they follow it. Furthermore, since Hawaii received federal funds under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, it has to comply with Section 508. So Hawaii is already complying with Section 508. My whole point in saying what I did is you have a framework to start work with. You have a framework that you're already working with. If somebody has a problem with equipment, they're going to complain and say that it doesn't comply with the ADA. And those standards have been used under Title II of the ADA in order to talk about how certain equipment doesn't work that way. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So DCAB or is Daintree? I saw Daintree on. Is Daintree on?
I did not see Daintree come on.
I thought I saw. Okay, DCAB. Representative from DCAB. Ms. Pagano, Christine, is she still there? I see her on the Zoom. Hi, aloha, Christine. Oh, you have to unmute.
Yes,
Oh,
so
she-
I want to
oh.
just make a
Oh.
comment as
Yes.
far as Section 508. And they do have disability access. It is standardized. So last night I researched and I happened to find some good information in New York, from New York, and they do have a wonderful Department of Health website that has a lot of information and accessible to all. So they contract with a company that provides almost all, it's all inclusive, all in one. And so I need to do more research on this.
So,
But I just want to let you know that information. There's probably about 14 states that already do have this disability access standardized.
that's
Hawaii
great to know.
needs to really research and catch up with other states.
So my question to Christine is whether DCAB could now look at those other states and at least come up with what we should do as a state and work with Office of Technology Services to say we should do X, Y, and Z for the equipment that we need.
Well, I mean, because of we don't have a lot of resources regarding our staff. We have a shortage of staff right now. And so I'm doing this on my own time because I'm invested in this because of it being a deaf person. And I understand the issues. So there's many people that have access to captioning, to the audio portion, as well as for other, you know, people with cognitive disabilities, things like that.
So
Really, we need to have that access specialist, that position. We don't have that filled, that position filled. That position, I used to be in that position as a communication access specialist. I did that position for about 12 years before I was promoted. And so really, I mean, it's a passion of mine. It's something that I feel is so very important.
So do you think that the position should be funded? It was defunded in the last go around in last session, or when was it defunded?
It was defunded during COVID in March. So when March happened and the government shut down, at that moment, we lost that position, we lost that funding. And we haven't received that funding back since then.
So if you got this position back and the specialist could do the research that you are now doing voluntarily, would DCAB be able to then look at the 508 and see what we should be doing in terms of providing this kind of communication access?
Yes, yes, definitely, yes, yes. That position, I mean, that position is all related to, I mean, what is standard?
Okay.
Across the board. And so, yes, they could do that job definitely.
And they would then DCAB would be willing to do the coordination of a working group and looking at these at 508 and seeing what would work for Hawaii.
Yes, yes, definitely, yes.
Could I have Doug, Chair, could I ask Doug Murdoch
Okay,
question?
Doug Murdoch, go ahead. Wait a second.
No.
Well, you know what?
You have questions?
It's GVO's time. Yeah, I had a question of Fritz, but that's okay.
Okay.
You can go ahead and because it's GVO's turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So really quickly, just with Doug, to just clarify, if we have this position, what office of is Doug on? Doug?
Yes, he's on.
Oh, yeah. So if the, DCAB did have this position and was able to look at 508 and the Rehab Act and be able to say, this is what we need, would OETS be able to supply assistance, whether it's in technology or helping them come up with what technology services? I think Mr. Fritz talked about some of the technology that might be needed to do this. Would you be able to, your office be able to supply that kind of assistance?
We can certainly provide advice and assistance. If we have to buy new tools, then it would require additional budget. And if it was extensive, it might require additional personnel to monitor.
And if there were a working group with DCAB having this person to look at the federal law, would you be willing or your designee in this area to sit in on that working group to ensure that we can have the supportive technology to do what's needed?
Certainly, we're happy to participate.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Doug.
Okay. So for Human Services Committee members, any further questions? Okay, let's go move on. Thank you. So we tackled 2 bills. Next bill is SB 2459, relating to language access. Requires the Executive Director of the Office of Language Access to submit an annual report to the Governor and Legislator on compliance, complaints, resolution of complaints, and recommendation to enhance and promote language access appropriates funds to establish a limited English Proficiency Language Coordinator position in DCCA Health, Ag, and the Hawaii Emergency Medical Management Agency. Okay, first up on SB 2459, we have Jeremiah, I want to make sure we got it right. No, Department of Human Services, State of Hawaii, in support. DHS.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. Joseph Campos, Deputy Director of Department of Human Services, here on behalf of Director Betts. The department stands on its written testimony in support of the intent and defers to the Office of Language Access and other impacted departments. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next up, Director Pereira Eustachio for DLIR, Department of Labor, in support.
Good
I see you,
afternoon.
Director.
Good afternoon, Chairs San Buenaventura and Moriwaki, Vice Chairs Ihara and Dela Cruz, and members of the committee. The department stands on its written testimony in support, and I'm here for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Director. Next up, we have Director Jade Butai for Department of Transportation and support. Do we have anyone from Department of Transportation? Okay, seeing none, moving on to. Next, we have Department of Agriculture, Phyllis Shimabukura Geyser in support. Department of Ag, I see Adam Morisata. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, chairs and Buenaventura and Moriwaki and committee members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify. We will stand on our testimony in support, and we appreciate the effort to enhance the language access programs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Department of Ag again, Darcy Miyashiro in support. Darcy Miyashiro. Okay, next up we have DCCA, Catherine Awakuni Colon in providing comments. I see you.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. I'm Kat Awakuni Colon on behalf of DCCA. We appreciate the intent of the measure. Did offer some comments, basically to the effect of we are hoping that some of these resources might be devoted toward kind of looking at uniformly what all of the state executive agencies may need, or as an alternative, perhaps funding a position at the Office of Language Access, who can in turn help departments like DCCA. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up I see Apira Bangungwan, Office of Language Access, and providing comments.
Good afternoon,
Please
chairs.
proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair San Buenaventura, Chair Moriwaki, and a member of committees. Afirak Bambunguran from the Office of Language Access. We stand on our written testimony offering comment on this measure and will be available for any question committee may have. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have Lisa Ryan Gill, Hawaii Coalition of Immigrant Rights and Support. Liza.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chairs, members of the committee. Liza Ryan Gill, with co-coordinator of the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights, representing more than 25 service providing organizations that specifically focus on limited English proficient folks. We'll stand on our testimony and support. Just a few quick little facts for you. 1 in 9 persons in Hawaii are limited English proficient, and about 20% of our population is foreign born. What we're asking for is just for the state to comply with federal requirements and make sure that we are not in violation, as we have been numerous times in the past. One thing that we have learned during COVID is that it's very important to take the information to the people, not wait for people to come to the information wherever it might be. If we really need them to both understand what their rights are and to also have access to critical safety and health information. So this is why we've focused specifically on departments where it is at times a matter of life and death, whether or not people have access to the right information. We are also asking that this is for the positions as a way to continue to build trust in these communities that have been historically marginalized. It is important, as we've seen again during the pandemic, that Trust is built in times when we're not in crisis because it needs to be relied upon and drawn upon when we are in crisis. So this is something we can do to continue to build trust and communication with these communities. And lastly, just one little kind of anecdote or point, 40% of our ag workers are foreign born. This has often led to situations of labor trafficking and or wage theft. This is one of those reasons why it is so important that folks know what their rights are in a language that is accessible to them, because when they're working 16 hours a day, it is difficult to go to English class, especially if you don't have access to broadband and or you have one vehicle for your whole family. So these are some of the reasons why we need to expand this. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I am going to caution people to please, if you have written testimony, please rest on them. We have read that. And frankly, for this bill, everyone is in support or provided comments and no one is in opposition. So you really don't need to expound more than your 2 minutes. But next up, Micronesian Health Advisory Coalition in support. Hawaii Family Friends of Civil Rights, I see Patricia McManaman in support. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, chairs. Good afternoon, vice chairs and members of the committee. I'll keep my comments very brief. You know, I just want to basically thank the director of Kolan for her comments. These issues are really executive level enterprise issues, and the state's failure to systematically provide in a cross-department way strong support to language access is very troubling. It's the issue that you just saw with DCAT. These are federal laws that have devolved to the states, and the state in language access has its own laws. If we're not in compliance, we get sued. Hawaii's been sued 9 times on language access laws. If we had enterprise leadership, okay, from the governor's office, coordinated with, for example, the enterprise technology services, many of these issues could be resolved across the board among all departments. You know, standardized look for web pages. But that said, you will still need embedded within each department individual language access coordinators who will then work within the department to determine what documents are vital, need to be translated, to train the staff on how to interact with limited English proficient people, etc. So we need 2 things. We need embedded full-time staff across all of our departments. I think currently DHS is the only department with a full-time language access coordinator, but across all of our departments ideally. And then we need this enterprise leadership to particularly as applied to federal laws, to make sure all government agencies are in compliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, no one else having registered to testify on SB 2459. Is there anyone on Zoom land or online who wishes to testify on SB 2459? Okay, those who are providing written comments but have not registered to testify on Zoom are Department of Budget and Finance providing comments referring to the ESSER funds, Micronesian Health Advisory Coalition in support, Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights in support, Ethnic Education Hawaii in support, Common Cause Hawaii in support, Marshallese COVID-19 Task Force in support. And we have Jeremiah Brown, Samoan Language Center in support, Legal Clinic in support, Pacific Gateway Center in support, Hawaii Workers Center in support, Hawaii Public Health Institute in support. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 individuals all providing in support, and 1 person, Marcella Alohalani Boido, providing comments. Questions, members of Human Services, of any of our live witnesses? Seeing none. Chair Moriwaki for GVO.
No questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on. And we have now GVO versus GVO and lead. Your turn.
Okay. Let me see, where are we? We are.
Hold on a second.
Wait, no, you have more.
We have a 3:30 calendar. Do we need to gavel in and then go for?
Wait,
Just
did
continue
you,
on. Okay.
did you cover 3258? The auditor to conduct managed care organization study?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And 23702, two more bills.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. SB 3258. Relating to health requires the auditor to conduct a comprehensive study of managed care organizations that administer the Medicaid program in Hawaii. SB 3258. We have Judy Moore Peterson providing comments. Judy, are you present? Oh, I see you. There you go.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Judy Moore Peterson, MedQuest Administrator. On behalf of the Department of Human Services, we stand on our written comments with concerns, and we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe that is the only person providing testimony for SB 3258.
State auditor.
We have auditor? It wasn't on my list. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have Office of the Auditor, Les Condo, providing comments.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chairs. It's actually Dario Loigoto, the Deputy Auditor, on behalf of the Auditor, Les Condo, who was unable to be here today. We will stand on our written testimony on Senate Bill number 3258, offering comments. And I will just note that, our primary work where the Office of the Auditor really adds most value involves audits of departments, offices, and agencies of the state and its political subdivisions. And we really feel oversight of contractors who are performing work on behalf of the MedQuest division is best assessed by that agency. So our testimony suggests that the Department of Human Services MedQuest division may be better suited to perform or to oversee a proposed study in this area. Thank you for your consideration of our testimony and the time to testify. I'm available to answer any questions that the committee members may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Melody Adua. I see her here, Health Committee of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, chairs and vice chairs. My name is Melody Aduha. I am the chair of the Health Committee of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. The current managed care organizations, which I will call MCO, which is HMSA, Aloha Care, Kaiser, Ohana, and United Healthcare, administer Medicaid to 400,000 residents. This is a $2 billion a year healthcare system. Under the MCO systems, patients encounter many challenges: prior authorizations, formulary restrictions, and networks with limited physician participation. MCOs burden physicians and hospitals with administrative demands like pay for performance, pay for documentation, and capitation, which require more detailed documentation and data reporting while controlling and restricting payments for primary care, which drives physicians out of practice and leaving the state. We have 1,000 physician shortage as it is. Healthcare rates are skyrocketing, creating an affordability and accessibility crisis in Hawaii. High administrative costs are due to competitive insurance business models and high cost of prescription drugs. Nationally, we have fraudulent upcoding, where health insurance plans are paid per member with risk adjustment based on diagnosis. This fraudulent upcoding is used to secure high payments by gaming risk adjustment formulas. We need a comprehensive study of these MCOs to determine true transparency and accuracy. We are calling for a financial analysis of 1, healthcare, 2, quality improvement, 3, administrative costs, and the amounts paid for upcoding. With MCOs, Hawaii administrative costs are at 8 to 12%. But do we really know this is true? Because quality improvement and medical management are reported as direct healthcare costs, but they are not. And that's what Department of Human Services, Aloha Care, HMSA, and the Hawaii Association of Health Plans will tell you. In Connecticut, its program switched from MCOs to administrative services only contracts. Their Medicaid administrative costs dropped from 18% to 2%. This switch in Connecticut from insurance managed care to physician primary care eliminated prior authorizations, formulary restrictions, and network with limited physician participation. In Hawaii,
Okay, could you wrap up, please?
Yes, wrapping up right now.
Thank you.
This reduction in administrative costs is a projected savings of $175 million. Please pass this bill. We need true transparency and accuracy. Thank you, chairs. Thank you, vice chairs. Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have Aloha Care in opposition. Okay, we don't have Aloha Care here. We have Dennis Miller in support. Please proceed. 2 minutes,
Hi.
please.
Aloha. Good afternoon. The audit that we request is detailed in the text of the bill. And you will see in that language information which is not provided by Judy Peterson in their audits that they do provide. The audits performed by MedQuest Hawaii right now are inadequate. And based on this inadequate information from insurance companies, then the legislature does not have accurate information upon which to make beneficial decisions on health policy. And to the auditor not wanting to do the bill, allow me to say that private contractors must have state oversight. And while I agree with the sentiment that a state department should be best placed to provide that, it is not. Judy Peterson is not providing is not providing a look at the metrics inside of what's going on, excuse me, the medical management and the quality control metrics. Those two areas are classified as medical, but those two areas need to be looked at as to whether or not they are needed, because when they began to be implemented, you saw doctors in Hawaii refused to work. That's why we have a physician shortage. So the audit is going to shine a light on whether these quality improvement metrics did more than just add cost to healthcare. So please support this, and please also request more detailed information. This deserves 20 minutes of your time for a professional presentation on these so-called quality improvement metrics, which the ACA ushered in which are classified as medical, but in fact, the doctor does not need any of those metrics to provide patient care. Witness the time doctors spent on patient care.
We have, yes, thank you. Please wrap up. I have a 3:30 calendar where there are a lot of people.
4 seconds. Evidence, the time doctors spent on patient care compared to charting doubled once these metrics got put in place.
Thank you very much. Let's move on. We have Craig Hirai, department. Nobody else having registered to testify on 3258. Anybody else wishing to testify on SB 3258 that is online? Okay, seeing none. Those who have provided written testimony are Department of Budget and Finance providing comments, Americans for Democratic Action in support, Hawaii Association of Health Plans in opposition, HMSA providing comments, Shannon Rudolph in support. Okay, questions, Human Services, committee members, seeing none. GVO, your turn, Sharon. Do you have any?
I just one question for Mr. Miller. We hear that the auditor is not the appropriate agency to give this kind of assessment that you're talking about, that's independent. In your studies or research of what has been done, is there an agency that you have found in your research that might be that kind of independent organization to do an analysis of these organizations?
Thank you very much for that question. And my reply is that the auditor is the best starting point, or possibly the Legislative Reference Bureau. However, they alone do not have, and I agree with them, they don't have the expertise to perform this audit. The auditor or the LRB would have to hire an MD and a policy expert to parse through the language, just the language involved in health insurance is complex, and it's beyond the scope of training of either the auditor or the LRB. Therefore, they are unable to do it on their own. They would have to hire specialists, have to be an MD to differentiate between medical and non-medical. There would have to be a health policy expert, such as Dr. Stephen Kimball, who in 20 minutes could make a great sales pitch for why he should be that individual hired by the state auditor to help perform this necessary, almost forensic audit of the Medicaid's private contractors.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any questions, Human Services members, based upon the answer by Mr. Miller to Chair Moriwaki's questions? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to the next bill. And that would be SB 2370, which is relating to homelessness. Is that? Yeah. Establishes the Office of Homelessness and Housing Solutions and the Homelessness and Housing Solutions Special Fund, makes an appropriation. First up, I see who are you for DLNR in support. Please proceed.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, and members. The department stands on its testimony in support, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, I see Scott Murashiga providing comments, Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. Please
Thank
proceed.
you. Good afternoon, Chair San Buenaventura, Chair Moriwaki, Vice Chairs, and members. I support the intent of this measure and agree that a long-term coordinated effort by government and other stakeholders is needed to really reduce and end homelessness statewide. In addition, I appreciate that this bill would make the positions and functions permanent, as well as the intent in the measure to provide stable ongoing funding for homeless services and to support innovative approaches. In the interest of time, I'll stand my remaining testimony offering comments. So thank you again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. And I see Craig Hurai, Budget and Finance providing comments. Please proceed.
Chairs San Buenaventura and Moriwaki, I'm Craig Hurai, the Director of Finance. You have our written testimony providing comments, but following up on what Scott Moriwaki said, I don't see anything in this bill that creates any positions or funding for those positions in BNF. So, you know, unless if you're going to transfer any live bodies, I suggest that that might be appropriate, transferring positions and funding them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, I see Department of Human Services providing comments. Nope. Okay, also those providing written testimony, we have John and Rita Shockley, Free Access Coalition provide in support, Shirley David, St. Michael, the Archangel in support, Aloha, Hawai'i Onipa'a organization in support, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other individuals providing written comments in support. Anybody else online wishing to testify on SB 2370? Okay, seeing none. Members, Human Services, any questions of the 3 witnesses we have? Okay, seeing none. GVO, your turn.
Thank you, Chair. Could I have Director Harai, Budget and Finance, please?
Oh, I'm here, but my video's not on.
Okay, that's okay. We kind of know how you look.
Oh.
Aloha, aloha.
Right.
Oh, there you are. We can see you. All right, wonderful. A question on the transfer of positions. Yeah, I noticed that the bill does not have that. So you are suggesting that we should have language in the bill on the transfer of positions and appropriation that currently is with the
Well,
coordinator and staff.
Yeah, from BNF standpoint, we would definitely appreciate it if you would fund the positions if you're going to transfer them.
Okay, thank you. And part of this bill also is looking at the authorities and the responsibilities of the Office of Homeless Solutions, which is being transferred to Budget and Finance. I noticed that you say that it's not something that BNF is used to having as a program, but the idea here was to look at the office as one that can work with all agencies, all departments, as well as the counties in ending homelessness. So I wonder whether you could expound on how, for example, the public defender is in your office, and so it's not really unusual to have a service or a program within the Budget and Finance that would be independent, be able to work with all departments.
I think in that case, it might have been a conflict of interest that they ended up here. But
AG, with the AG.
Yeah, right. So, you know, it's not unheard of, and you get down to it's a matter of policy on the part of the legislature.
So the importance of being able to work with all departments and all counties in order to end homelessness or to reduce significantly the number of homeless.
Well, yeah. Yes, Chair, it's a
Thank
policy decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So Craig, I have a question. This is Joy. Senator San Buenaventura. So in the public defender's position, because there's a clear conflict between the Attorney General, who they have to oppose in court at times for criminal charges, it was best that there was a policy decision put under Budget and Finance. Do you see a conflict of interest in having the homelessness program be removed from the Department of Human Services? Because both the public safety and DLNR is requesting that it remain in the Department of Human Services.
I have no opinion on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think the next one is yours.
Okay.
I think this time the next one is yours.
Yeah. Okay.
And we got to do it soon because I still have
This is going to be
3:30 calendar.
fast. This is going to be fast.
Thank you.
Okay, this is SB 3039 before the Government Operations and Human Services Committee. It is relating to purchases of health and human services, requiring cost and pricing analysis for purchases of health and human services. It also increases the small purchase threshold for those services. I think I have the State Procurement Office. I see Bonnie Kahakui.
Good
Aloha,
afternoon.
Bonnie.
Aloha. Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Bonnie Kahakui with the State Procurement Office. We stand in strong support of this bill and we're available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Betts, Director of Human Services. Do we see Kathy or her designee?
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. Joseph Campos, Deputy Director, Department of Human Services, on behalf of Director Betts. The department stands in its written testimony in support of this measure, provides a comment and defers to the State Procurement Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have, is there anyone else to testify on this measure? Okay, I have written testimony from Hano with comments, and the Hawaii Substance Abuse Coalition in opposition. And that's all I have. Members, any questions?
Human Services? None from us.
Okay, I do have a question for Director Kahakui.
Yes.
I have from Hawaii Substance Abuse Coalition saying that this is going to create more work for the state, more work for providers, in being in complying with this measure. Can you clarify what this measure does in terms of any added work? What are we asking in this measure?
Okay, thank you. This should not create any additional work for vendors or for the providers. It is simply asking the agencies, when they get this information from their providers, that they look at it and make an analysis that the prices are fair and reasonable. Most of them are doing this anyway as part of their process. We've just asked that to be put in statutes. Thank you.
And so one of the concerns is that this will also that currently the providers aren't getting paid enough for the work that they do. Would this be able to address that in terms of this reasonable pricing and costing?
Well, okay, so I don't know if it will or not, but what I can say is when the providers give their costs to support their prices, then it's up to the agencies to see and look, okay, what their providers are asking for is fair and reasonable.
They are to research other prices to look
well,
at
there
that
are
comparison.
provisions in the statute that would allow them to, if it's already been done by competitive process, so they've already put it out to bid and these are the prices that came in, if it's already statutorily required. And so those kinds of things are already situated in the bill. But it does not address if they're putting in a cost and they need to say that, and this is their price for the overall, services or for contracts, and that they can support that price to the agencies, and the agencies then again will say yes or no. We've determined these prices to be fair and or reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Very much.
Okay,
can we recess for decision making?
Yep.
And you don't have quorum, so can we I want to call my 3:30 calendar until you can find quorum.
So I'm going to leave you because I have.
Can we go into breakout room, please? Recalling the 3 o'clock calendar, joint human services and government operations for decision making. For SB 2381, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. We're going to accept the SMA's recommendation. We're going to put a defect date because we are going to consider, hopefully by the end of session, which bill to pass, whether or not it's SB 2381 or SB 2144. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
This is a recommendation for both chairs, yeah?
Yes.
No, Donovan, I have my vice chair for GVO.
Okay, so I'm gonna, so
Just for human service.
the Committee on Human Services, we're taking a vote on a chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2381 with amendments. Chair San Buenaventura.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Misalucha.
Aye.
And Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendations adopted.
GVO, same recommendation. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz. Where are you? You're muted.
Okay, SB 2381 recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair Moriwaki votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Che.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendation adopted.
Thank you very much. So for SB 2459, Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. There is a blank appropriation. Vice Chair for the vote.
We're voting on a chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2459 unamended. Any reservations or objections to the recommendation? Otherwise, I'll cast an aye vote for all members present. Recommendation is adopted.
GVO committee, same recommendation on SB 2459. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
The recommendation on SB 2459 is to pass unamended with all members present. Any objections? Any reservations? Recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. For SB 2144, we will accept DCAB's proposed amendment of removing the not later than 6 months in the beginning of the measure. Otherwise, add a defect date and so pass with amendments. Vice Chair with a vote, for the vote.
You heard the chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2144 with amendments. Any reservations, objections? The recommendation is adopted.
GVO committee, same recommendation on SB 2144. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
The SB 2144 recommendation is to pass with amendments. With all members present, any objections, any reservations, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up is SB 3258. Based upon the only support, well, there's a number of support, but the person supporting saying that the best person to conduct the audit is not the auditor, but Dr. Kemble specifically. Chair's recommendation is to defer this. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, moving on. SB 2370.
Wait,
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
Sharon.
Yes, GVO. The recommendation is to defer.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so for SB 2370, we're gonna pass this with amendments. We're gonna accept Scott Morishita's proposed amendment, deleting references to chapter 42F and replacing it with chapter 103F. Amend from the number 5 to number 4 on page 2, line 20. Add on page 4, line 3, replace budget and finance with human services. Accept SMA recommendations. Add in a defect date because we still need to continue discussions on it. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
For members of the Human Services Committee, any reservation, objections to the chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2370 with amendments? The recommendation is adopted.
GVO committee, we will go with the same recommendation on 2370. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Okay, Senate Bill 3270 recommendation is to pass with amendment.
2370.
Okay, Senate Bill 2370 recommendation is to pass with amendments. All members present, any objections, reservations, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned at 3 o'clock calendar. No,
Okay.
can we
No,
adjourn?
wait, one more.
Sorry,
GVO.
The GVO one, sorry.
GVO Human Services Joint Hearing on SB 3039 relating to purchase of health and human services. The chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, technical amendments, and just put a defective date on this.
Okay, recommendation on SB 3039 recommendation is to pass with amendments. All members present, any objections, reservations, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Same recommendation for human services.
For the Human Services Committee members, any reservation, objections to the recommendation to pass Senate Bill 3039 with amendments? Hearing none, the recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Can we adjourn now?
Adjourn.
We are adjourned to the clock calendar, calling the 3:30 calendar for human services.
GVO.
Can we stay on for 3:30 calendar, IT? Okay, and may we have the timer on because we really have very little time. Okay, for calling the 3:30 calendar, first up, SB 3347. I want to remind witnesses that we have a hard stop at 4:30. And I apologize for the late entrance to the 3:30 calendar. First, if you can rest on your written testimony, we certainly appreciate it. If you could limit your oral testimony to 1 minute, please do so. Thank you very much. SB 3347, relating to the right to exit the sex trade, establishes a 1-year pilot program within the Department of Human Services to provide a basic monthly income of $2,000 for up to 1 year to qualified persons who are verified victims of sex trafficking or who are female, sexual, and gender minority individuals seeking to exit the sex trade. Requires a department to keep confidential personal information applicants and program participants. First up, we have Department of Human Services. I see Joe Campus providing comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Joseph Campos, Deputy Director of Department of Human Services, on behalf of Director Betts. The department stands on its written testimony in appreciation of the intent of this measure, offering comments as well as requesting clarification. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Cara Jabola Koros, Status Commission and Status of Women and Support.
Chair, I'll try to keep this to 60 seconds. Thank you for letting us testify. Just wanted to make a couple points. This bill comes from people who've struggled to exit Hawaii sex trade, and we were honored to work with them. You know, there's a spectrum of people in the sex trade, but at the same time, we also know that the majority of people in prostitution in Hawaii are vulnerable women. Both things can coexist, and this is recognized by the Department of the Attorney General and various other agencies and service providers. Just a one note technical point, we may want to, and I apologize that I didn't put this catch this in my written testimony, we may want to change just the documentation provision. I believe that subsection B2, it says that I think it specifies female or gender and sexual minorities seeking to exit. We may want to just replace that with person, a quick tweak to make it more expansive. That's all for now, but here for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, Tracy Ryan, Hawaii reduction of Hawai'i. Comments. Tracy. Okay, next up, Chris Cofield, Immoral Alliance and Support. Okay, nobody else having registered to testify on 3346. Tracy Ryan, please, I see you now. Please provide support, or comments, which is what you said.
I'd like to propose some amendments. First of all, the first two sections the first two parts of section 1 in the preamble, you're going to get a lot of negativity back from people who work in this industry, particularly trans women, people of color who do not like other people speaking for them. Preamble is not necessary to the bill. I suggest just deleting them. I agree with Cara in terms of changing the wording, although I think you should just make this for anyone seeking to exit the sex industry and not require them to be sex trafficking victims. We had a long fight over 712-1209-6 that Cara was involved in solving a couple of years ago because it required sex trafficking victim status to clear a record. We should not require it here. We should make this simple and just say anyone who wants to leave the sex trades. Those two changes means this bill can move forward without argumentation or opposition. So those are
things. Thank you very much. So, sorry to cut you off, Tracy, but we have a hard stop. Otherwise, we cannot DM, and we won't be able to make the lateral. So next up, we don't have anyone else who is registered to testify on SB 3347. And I see Chris Cofield. Are you going to testify on 3347? Please either stand.
Yeah, I do very quickly. Chris Cofield, Executive Director of the Alliance. We stand in strong support. Thank
you very much. Okay, anybody else on Zoom land wishing to testify on SB 3347? Okay, seeing none, Department of Budget and Finance provide comments. Hawaii Family 808 provides support. Hawaii Health Committee on the Democratic Party of Hawaii and support. Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies and support. Hawaii Women's Coalition and support. Coyote RI in opposition. Libertarian Party of Hawaii in opposition. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 individuals providing support, 2 in opposition, 1 providing comments. Questions, members, please limit your questions. Okay, great. We're moving on because SB 3245 relating to human trafficking requires Department of Human Services Development.
2557.
So right, 22557 relating to sex trafficking. Decriminalize the act of engaging in or doing or offering to engage in sexual conduct with another person in return for a fee or anything of value. Authorize civil claims to be made against a business owner or operator of a transient accommodation or other commercial entity that profits from sexual exploitation, converts human trafficking services fund to a human trafficking reparations fund. 2557, those testifying. We have Hawaii Status Commission on the Status of Women in support. Kara, police limits.
Chair, quick points, you have our testimony. So, despite the vast politics represented here with everybody testifying, I want to speak to the core of what we're trying to accomplish, what I think should be preserved if we move forward with this bill, which I hope that you do. So one of the survivors that we work with really summarized the logic of why decriminalization of survivors is important. Beth Ribbett said, criminalization of survivors creates a fundamental and almost irreparable distrust between survivors and the state, which makes it unbelievably harder to expose crimes like sex trafficking. It also sends the societal message that people in the sex trade are shameful. I know this might be too radical for some, not radical enough for others. So the Commission on the Status of Women would like to propose a middle ground solution that could accomplish the intent by all, which is of course to protect people prostituting from harm. So the AG's testimony acknowledges that people in the sex trade rarely seek help from law enforcement. Their solution is more law enforcement investigations, right? But for us, we think that we could work with their nugget there, suggesting a safe harbor provision. Over the interim, we
Okay, so Kara,
AG for that
we
provision.
need you to, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the Department Attorney General in opposition.
Thank you. Lauren Nakamura, standing in for State Human Trafficking Coordinator for Shad Talibi. With respect to our testimony, we believe that the legalization of prostitution will not change the harmful or violent nature of the sex trade. And without going so far as legalizing prostitution, we can still assist survivors and those who wish to exit the sex trade, as well as pursue investigations that are victim-centered and targeted towards traffickers rather than the exploited. In legalizing prostitution, that will inhibit our ability to get to the true targets, the traffickers themselves, and maybe potentially more harmful to those bought and sold for sex by sending the message that there is no harm in prostitution and will only further cement their toxic relationship between the exploited and their traffickers. I'd also note that we mentioned in our testimony the language of Section 13 and the inclusion of labor trafficking is beyond the scope of the title of this bill and will cause constitutional issues. For that reason, the department opposes the bill and requests that it be deferred. Thank you, and available for questions.
Thank you very much. If you can, witnesses, if you can rest on your written testimony, otherwise we can't pass anything beyond, and we do have a lateral deadline. Thank you very much. So testifying for Imua Alliance in support, Chris Cofield, we got 1 minute.
You're muted.
You're muted, Chris.
I'm so sorry. There we go. So Chris Caulfield, Executive Director of Imua Alliance, testifying in strong support of this measure. I just want to say that decriminalizing the commercialization of people's bodies prevents sex trafficking survivors from being faced with the prospect of prosecution and advances an approach to sex trafficking that focuses on delivering social services and trauma-informed care. And I would also like to add that we would support the amendment that is proposed by the Hawaii Commission on the Status of Women as a middle ground step toward the enactment of this policy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Okay, next up we have Tracy Ryan, Hawaii Reduction in opposition. Please proceed. You got 1 minute.
It's harm reduction Hawaii, by the way. But this is a very, very controversial topic, this end-demand Nordic model. People all around the world have contacted us that Hawaii is doing this, and there's a lot of opposition. So if this bill moves forward, I just can tell you, you're going to end up with hearings with hundreds of people who want to testify on both sides. It's going to get very nasty. A couple of things I'll pick up on that what was said by Cara. There are some things that I actually agree with when Cara says them, although we're usually in opposition. We had a witness protection bill that's sitting in this committee which would make it much easier for people who are trafficking victims or people who see evidence of sex trafficking to come forward with immunity and tell the police and get an investigation. Our problem with our trafficking laws is nobody's getting prosecuted, and that's another story. Also, we have an advancing bill which would make it clear that people who are offering aid to people working in this industry are not promoting prostitution and are not felons, including giving out condoms and things. So there are things we can talk about.
Okay, thank you very much, Tracy. Okay, we need to move on. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, no one else having registered to testify, and because we have limited time, otherwise we can't pass bills. I'm just going to mention those who have provided written testimony. Shared Hope International and support, Libertarian Party of Hawaii and support. And we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 individuals. Well, 1, 2, 8 individuals in support and 5 in opposition. Members, any questions of the live witnesses? Keep it short.
Yeah.
Thank you.
AC.
Okay, so Senator Favela.
AC, you hear me? So you are opposed to this bill?
Absolutely. It's not just me, it's the Global Alliance Against Trafficking in Women, it's Amnesty International, it's every sex worker rights organization in the world is against a situation where the sex seller is treated as a victim and the sex buyer as a criminal. We don't support that. This is an attack on the money in the sex industry. The one thing that people say that's positive when who worked in the sex industry, M-O-N-E-Y, this is attack on the money. It attacks everybody. And people are dead set against it. If you want to consider decriminalization, which I don't think the Attorney General has said they do, it should be for buyer, for seller, and for anybody who's managing people who is not engaging in abuse, consenting adults. That's the model that is supported. It's one that's strongly opposed by many of the people in favor of this one, which means we're going to have a big fight if it moves forward.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on then. Any other questions on SB 3245? Okay, seeing none, we're moving on to SB 2072, which is relating to court-appointed attorneys, requires the court to appoint counsel to indigent parents upon the filing of a petition for custody or family supervision, makes every effort to do so at the first hearing attended by the parents. Nobody having registered for Zoom. Those providing written support is Hawaii Health Community Democratic Party of Hawaii in support, Hawaii Family Advocacy Team in support, National Coalition for Civil Rights Council in support. Next up, since there's no questions that we can ask, SB 2207 relating to Hawaii Interagency Council on Homelessness. Everyone on this one has provided written statements in support. Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness in support, Scott Moshiga.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I'll stand on my testimony in support.
Thank you very much. Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center in support.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair. We stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii in support.
Good afternoon, Michael Galoyu, Chair of the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. We stand in our testimony in strong support. We thank you for hearing this piece of legislation because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And homeless unaccompanied minors, LGBTQI plus count for 40% of them, where we only count for like 8 to 10% of the population. So thank you for hearing this. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Nobody else having registered to testify on Zoom, those providing written testimony in support, Hawaii Rainbow Chamber of Commerce, North Shore Kolau Diversity Collective, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people providing support. So because we have a limited time, we're not going to go into breakout room. I gave you folks, excuse me, 2207. Yeah, we did 3245. No, I guess, did we do 3245? No. Okay, apparently we missed one. SB 3245. I went too fast. Relating to human trafficking. I don't have oral testimony on that one, right? Okay. requires the Department of Human Services to develop in certain businesses and establishments to post a notice containing information about National Human Trafficking Hotline, requires the Attorney General to establish a human trafficking statewide coordinator and program, and to submit reports to the legislature on efforts to address human trafficking and commercial exploitation of children, requires the Justice Program to coordinate the investigation and case management. Those registering to provide with oral testimony, Department of Human Services in support. Are you gonna rest?
Good afternoon, chairs, committee members. Joseph Campos, Deputy Director, Department of Human Services, on behalf of Director Betts. The department supports the intent and the breadth of the measure, defers to the Department of Attorney General and the Judiciary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Judiciary providing comments. Okay, please keep it short. Thank you.
The judiciary will stand on its testimony, but ask for the deletion of section 4. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Delete section 4. Okay, thank you. For Attorney General providing comments.
Laura Nakamura, standing in for Human Trafficking Coordinator for Shah Talibi. We stand on our testimony, noting particularly our concerns regarding the language and the legality of some of the language proposed, as well as want to exercise our support for the codification of this program and the position, particularly because doing so would be essential to maintaining the long-term success of this program. Thank you.
We read your written testimony. Thank you. Okay, Chris Caulfield in support.
Aloha, this is Chris Caulfield from Remote Alliance in support. I just note that section 2 appears to duplicate a law that already exists under HRS 371-20.
Okay,
thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. And you provide testimony in support. Hawai'i reduction, Hawai'i providing comments.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I would like to follow up with the Attorney General's office on why they think this is necessary, because they are already doing it. We've had some problems with the current coordinator because he's not basically been listening to people and trying to coordinate us. And we'd like to have a steering committee that actually includes sex workers, harm reductionists, people in the outreach community, as well as the police, which is what I'm doing now with it in privately to make up, this thing. We've had this, sex trafficking law currently for about 7 or 8 years. I don't believe there's been any successful prosecutions of the law. So arguing that we're going to add asset forfeiture or different sentences, that's really not your problem. If the prosecuting attorney is not able to successfully prosecute the law, you should understand why, rather than just saying we're going to make the penalties bigger. That's not the right approach. We're not going to get anywhere unless we start listening to people who know things out in the community who are not being listened to.
Okay, thank you very much. Nobody else having provided having registered to provide testimony. We have Pacific Survivor Center in support, Libertarian Party of Hawaii in opposition, Coyote RI in opposition, 2 individual members in support and 2 individuals in opposition. Members, any questions? Limited to 1 minute, please. Okay, seeing none. Instead of going to a breakout room for decision-making, you folks have gotten my decision-making notes.
Chair, what about, are we doing the other 2 bills, 2072 and 2207?
We did those.
Okay.
We just went back.
We just went backwards.
Good. Okay,
Sorry.
sure.
So for SB 3347, we're gonna remove the preamble because that had problems. Add a defective date, take out and the SMA recommendations. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, passed with amendments.
Okay, all members are present for the Human Services Committee. Any reservation objections? Recommendations adopted.
Okay, so for SB 2557, because there are many problems with this bill and we had just passed a huge sex trafficking bill last session, recommendation is to defer. Okay, for SB 3245, we are going to delete section 4 per judiciary's request, add an appropriation language per DHS testimony, amend per the Attorney General by removing section 6, page 18, lines 5 through 17, and section 7's 1 and 2, subsections 1 and 2. otherwise add a defect date, and technical non-substantive amendments for purposes of clarity and consistency. Vice Chair for the vote.
We're voting on recommendation to pass Senate Bill 3245 with amendments. Any objections or reservations? The recommendation is adopted.
Okay, so for SB 2072, we're just gonna pass it with the SMA's recommendation. Add in, which is basically technical non-substantive amendments for purposes of clarity and consistency. Vice Chair for the vote.
We're voting on recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2072 with amendments. Any reservations or objections? Recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you. For SB 2207, Chair's recommendation is to pass with the SMA recommendations, so with amendments. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We're voting on the recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2207 with amendments. Any reservations or objections? The recommendation is adopted.
We are adjourned. Thank you, folks, for putting up with me.